Hey guys, it's Sashi. I'm out here at the Man Sports headquarters. Today we will be going through a routine that's going to help strengthen and mobilize your hip joint, take pressure off of your back, kind of reactivate the abdominals and get that whole connection working together so that we can reset the hips and get you guys realigned. So when your hips are out of alignment, it creates a lot of dysfunctions within your body. It can create some tightness in the back or hamstring, sometimes even traveling up into the back because it pulls you up into different positions that you shouldn't be standing. So today, when we work to strengthen certain areas of the joints and lengthen others, we're going to restore that proper alignment, which will help alleviate some of the issues that you may be experiencing over time. So today for our first move, we'll be going through a long lever hip car. We'll start in a box pose. You'll take your hands directly under the shoulders, knees directly under the hips. From there, we'll start with our right leg. So you'll take your right toes straight behind, lift the leg parallel to the hip, start to circle it out so that you can set it down right in line with the knee. From there, you sit back towards the heel and then come back through center, lifting that right leg, circle it, sweep it, and you will tap it back down towards the ground. So use your inhale to lift and circle, trying to keep that leg perfectly parallel until you drop it to the ground. Inhale as you sit back. Exhale to come through center. As you're moving through this, try to keep your elbows nice and strong and don't dump into your left side. You take about 10 to 15 reps here per leg. Another thing to be mindful of as you're moving through this movement is try to keep your hip bone squared to the ground. You'll see it want to lift sometimes. Don't let it lift up as you move through. Our next move, we'll have our lizard lunge with a hip opener. When you set this up, you want to make sure that you set up the leg outside of the shoulders. So both hands will be inside the front leg, and you'll start with that back leg lifted. Think about squeezing your quad. That will help lengthen through the hamstring a little bit more. From there, you have two options. You can either drop down and open the left hip gently out to the side, or you can keep the back leg straight and start to bring your elbows towards the ground. Either variation here. So as you're moving through this movement, a couple things to be mindful of. Try not to let the ball of the foot separate from the ground. You want to keep the ball of the foot anchored, the heel anchored. Allow yourself to keep the shoulders nice and open, chest broad. As much as possible, your hip bones stay parallel to each other. Again, 10 to 15 reps. You could also work off of time here. Maybe set a timer for 60 seconds per side. we'll set up our half frog internal external rotation from the hip. You're gonna take yourself down onto the ground. You can place the palm over palm. We'll start with the right leg first. You're going to bend the leg into a 90-degree bend. From here, lift it parallel to the hip, start to circle it around and set it down to the ground. From there, you're gonna internally and externally rotate from the hip. So on that internal rotation, you're lifting the ankle. Again, we want to try and keep that right hip bone driving down towards the ground. You may lift a little as you start to activate that right external hip rotator. So oftentimes we think that inflexibility or tightness that we feel in our inner thighs is because we just don't have the flexibility to open up, but oftentimes it's because that muscle has become overactive from our external hip rotators not being strong enough to support certain movements. So again, you can do about 10 to 15 reps per side. Or, once again, set that timer, 60 seconds per leg. Our next movement we have is our 90-90 stretch. We'll add a fold over to. To set this one up, you want to take two 90-degree bends with the legs. So start with the knee in line with the hip on the front leg, create a 90-degree bend. And then same thing with the back leg. You want the leg to be in line, or the knee in line with the hip, 90-degree bend. From there, you're going to square your hips and shoulders over the front leg. It's a big inhale. Think about lifting your sternum up over the leg versus just forward folding. So you're gonna inhale as you lift up and over. And then on your exhale, you start to sit back into the back hip as you gently hinge back. Long, strong spine through the entire movement. When you want to switch sides, you can take your hands through center or reach them out in front of you. Feet go down, soles of the feet to the earth. Flip right on over. That's just going to allow you to see how your hips function through that movement. And then from here, it's the same move. Inhale, finding length through the spine. Again, try not to round and fold in, but lift the sternum and chest up over the front leg. And that exhale as you sit back. 10 to 15 reps per side. Feel free to hold any portion of this movement for a few rounds of breath. Don't feel like you need to rush any of these. Up next, we have our waterfall pose that we'll add an internal and external rotation to. We are going to do a supported variation of this today, but know that you don't have to take any support under the back if that doesn't serve you today. If you don't have a foam roller, you can use a yoga block, a stack of books, anything sturdy enough to support your sacrum. So what you'll do here is make sure that you come down onto the ground one vertebrae at a time. From there, you're gonna lift the hips and take your foam roller right to the base of the sacrum. So you want to go just above the tailbone, not into the vertebrae, but that flat part on the top of your hip girdle. From there, one at a time, you gently draw the knees over the hips, lengthen out through the back sides of the knees. From here, you're internally and externally rotating from the hip sockets. So on the external rotation, your toes will start to point out. On the internal rotation, they're turning inward. Keep in mind, you want the rotation to come from the hips and not from the feet. So sometimes you'll see kind of a little bit of a sickling at the ankle. Just make sure that it's all moving from the hip and that the hip, knee, and ankle then move as one unit. Again, 10 to 15 reps here. You could also do this one for time if that serves you better. So lastly, we have our figure 4 hip opener, and then we will add a supine twist in as well. Take yourself back onto the back if you're not still already there. You'll cross your right ankle over your left knee. To start this move, open your arms out to a T so your shoulders, elbows, and wrists are in one straight line. From there, you're gonna use your right hip. I'm gonna point to mine, but you keep your arms out to the side. But use your right external hip rotator to start to gently open your knee to the wall in front of you. Hold for 2 counts, and then allow that muscle to relax. So again, you're using the muscle to open your knee, squeeze it, let it activate, release. Take anywhere from 3 to 5 of these little openers. And then from there, trying to keep the knee gently pressing open, you start to take it into your figure 4 flossing, just allowing a gentle rotation through the thoracic spine, allowing a little bit of pressure to be released from where you may be carrying it. And if you want to use this movement to fold into a spinal twist and breathe to reset your breath, you can do that as well. When you're taking this supine twist, you can take 3 to 5 reps per side before falling into your spinal twist for your breath reset. Note that gazing over the opposite shoulder is not necessary, and only if that feels comfortable to you. When you're in your supine twist, try to make sure you really stack the hips on top of each other and breathe that opposite shoulder away. guys, so there you have it, a great little hip mobility routine. Like I said, this is really good if you're experiencing any sort of low back pain, maybe from having sat at a desk for longer periods of time, or just maybe moving in ways that you haven't recently. I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, like, share, subscribe, hit the links below, and we'll see you next time.